Hey there. Ever wonder which countries are teetering on the edge of total collapse? I'm not talking about a rough economy or some political drama. I mean full-blown breakdown, where governments lose control, money becomes worthless, and people are fleeing for their lives. 2025 is shaping up to be a wild year, and today, we're counting down the 10 fastest collapsing countries in the world. Some of these might shock you, others might not surprise you at all. But trust me, by the end, you'll see just how fragile some nations really are. Now, before we dive in, what does collapse actually mean? It's not just about poverty or corruption. It's when a country's institutions fail so badly that the government can't provide basic services, the economy implodes, and society starts to unravel. Think hyperinflation, civil wars, mass starvation, or even total lawlessness. Scary stuff, right? Well, let's get into it. Starting off at number 10, we've got Pakistan. Now, Pakistan's been flirting with disaster for years, but 2025 might finally push it over the edge. Why? Well, first, their economy is in freefall. Inflation hit 37% last year, and their currency, the rupee, has lost almost half its value in just 5 years. The IMF keeps bailing them out, but they're drowning in over $125 billion in foreign debt. At some point, the money's going to run out. Then there's the political chaos. Imran Khan's arrest sparked massive riots, and the military's tightening its grip. And let's not forget climate change. The 2022 floods submerged a third of the country, and with rising temperatures, that kind of disaster could become the new normal. Put it all together, and Pakistan's a ticking time bomb. Coming in at number 9 is Lebanon. If you thought their 2019 financial crisis was bad, just wait. Their currency has lost over 98% of its value, banks are basically holding people's money hostage, and the government is so dysfunctional they can't even agree on a president. The Beirut port explosion in 2020 was a preview of what happens when corruption meets neglect. Now, imagine that but across the entire country. Daily blackouts, no clean water, and half the population trying to flee. Lebanon isn't just collapsing, it's already a failed state in slow motion. At number 8, we've got Venezuela. Yeah, I know, they've been on this list for a decade, but 2025 could be the year they hit rock bottom. Hyperinflation got so bad at one point that people were using banknotes as toilet paper. Over 7 million people have already fled, and those still there are dealing with shortages of everything from food to medicine. The only thing propping up the regime is oil, but even that industry is crumbling due to mismanagement and sanctions. If oil prices drop again, Venezuela might finally implode for good. Number 7 is Haiti. This country just can't catch a break. The president was assassinated in 2021, gangs now control most of the capital, and the police are outgunned and outnumbered. The UN keeps sending peacekeepers, but they can't fix decades of corruption and neglect. Add in hurricanes, earthquakes, and a cholera outbreak, and you've got a recipe for total collapse. Haiti's government is barely functioning, and if things don't change soon, the whole country could descend into warlord rule. Now, at number 6, we've got Sudan. This one's flying under the radar, but it's a full-blown catastrophe. 2 rival generals are fighting for control, and the war has displaced millions. Famine is spreading, and neither side seems interested in peace. The scary part? The world isn't paying attention. Sudan's collapse could trigger a refugee crisis that spills into Egypt, Chad, and beyond. If the fighting doesn't stop soon, there might not be much of a country left to save. Halfway through at number 5 is Zimbabwe. Remember when they had trillion-dollar bills? Yeah, that's not a joke. Their inflation was so bad they had to abandon their own currency. Now, after a disputed election, violence is flaring up again. The economy is in shambles, and the government's solution? Print more money. Sound familiar? Without major reforms, Zimbabwe's headed straight back to economic disaster. Number 4 is Myanmar. Since the military coup in 2021, it's been one nightmare after another. The junta's losing ground to rebel groups, and the fighting has displaced over 2 million people. The economy's in freefall, and basic services like healthcare have collapsed. If the military loses control, Myanmar could fracture into warlord-controlled zones. Either way, the future looks bleak. Now, the top 3, starting with number 3, Nigeria. Wait, Africa's biggest economy? Yep. But beneath the surface, it's a mess. Boko Haram and other militant groups control huge chunks of the north, while armed gangs run wild in the south. The currency, the naira, has lost over 70% of its value in the past year, and inflation is soaring. If oil prices drop again, which they might, Nigeria could face a full-blown economic meltdown. Number 2 is Afghanistan. The Taliban took over in 2021, and surprise, they're still terrible at governing. The economy's in ruins, women's rights have been erased, and half the population is starving. Foreign aid has dried up, and the Taliban's only solution is more repression. Without a miracle, Afghanistan's collapse will only get worse. And the number 1 fastest collapsing country in 2025 is Yemen. After a decade of war, Yemen's barely a country anymore. Famine, cholera, and airstrikes have left it in ruins. The government controls almost nothing, and peace talks keep failing. Yemen isn't just collapsing, it's already collapsed. The only question is how much worse it can get. So, what do you think? Did any of these shock you? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into global chaos, hit subscribe. Trust me, 2025 is going to be a wild ride, and you don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.